When I first heard the idea of the Earth being flat, I immediately figured it out that it couldn't be possible because the sun could never set. Now, flat earthers have been dealing with this insurmountable problem for a long time, making claims, but never really providing much satisfaction. Well, I'm going to be examining a claimed answer from Karen B., a flat earther that's been around for quite a while. She's actually a prominent flat earther in their community. You might not have heard of her, but she does regular appearances with Mark Sargent, one of the OG flurfs. She even hosts the largest flat earth convention on the globe. It's an annual thing in October in South Carolina. It's coming up next month. Now, I don't have a problem with her. I kind of like Karen B. Her videos are nice. They're not as droning as Dubé's derp stuff. Not Mark Dubé, Eric Dubé. It puts you to sleep. But Karen's videos, they're the softer, gentler flat earth videos. Also, Karen and I have a distaste for a flat earther named Chris Zelinsky. Now, Chris Zelinsky is the flat earther who is also a misogynist. Now, a misogynist is not a person that does massages. I had to look that up, when I was a kid. He doesn't like women. Women scare him or something. Anyway, he got himself into a little bit of trouble a few years ago when he claimed that women should never be taught self-defense. And then he kind of got his butt kicked by a girl. If you'd like to hear the full story of Chris Zelinsky and the closest he ever got to a voluntary hug from a female, put a comment down in the comments section saying so. If I get 1,000 comments saying you'd like to hear a retelling of the epic saga, I'll do it. Anyway, Karen tackles the insurmountable problem of sunsets on flat Earth.
Hi everyone, this is Karen B. And in this video, I will do my best to give you the most comprehensive explanation of how the sun sets and rises on a flat Earth.
A comprehensive explanation. I've been looking for this for a long time. Maybe you have too. Flat earthers in the recent era, since about the 1850s, starting with Robotham in England, have struggled with this. And so here comes the most comprehensive explanation for sunsets on flat Earth.
Early on in the flat Earth community, the most common answer to this question was simply perspective. While this does play a part in how day and night work on flat Earth, it's not the only thing at play. There are a few different things working together in harmony to create day and night on our plane. First, on a flat Earth, the sun is small and close, a local light about the same size as the moon. The Earth is a plane with the luminaries within our atmoplane and our small local lights. This is an example. So, first, let's examine perspective. Perspective is the representation of how an image is seen by the eye. It's about how the angle and distance of a three-dimensional object is represented on a flat surface.
Well, apart from the word atmoplane, we're off to a good start. Yes, perspective is how things are that we see in three dimensions are represented in our two-dimensional vision. Things take up a certain amount of space in our sight. And as they get farther away, they take up less distance, less size in our vision. And that's simple perspective. That's all it is, really. It's just that things that are farther away appear smaller.
Okay, one last time. These are small, but the ones out there are far away.
This is well understood and can be described mathematically with ease. In fact, it's simply just solving triangles. Something done in America between 7th and 8th grade at the first time. So people that are between 12 and 14 years old cover all you need to do perspective analysis. You don't even need to do the trigonometry. You can draw something to scale and then measure angles. That's all you need to do. But let's hear what she has to say about perspective. Now that you know what perspective actually is, let's hear what flat earthers think perspective is.
Here we have our two horizontal planes with a perspective grid over it. You can see the trees rise up toward the horizon and get smaller in size, and the clouds appear to get lower in the sky as they appear to converge into the vanishing point. The clouds seem to drop toward the ground in the distance, yet we know that the clouds are still thousands of feet above the Earth's surface. The same thing with the sun. It is always high above the Earth's surface, but seems to touch the ground as it reaches a distance outside the limits of our optics.
Except that's not really how optics work, not even close. You see, as things get farther away, they get smaller.
Small, far away. Forget it.
And the details of those things get smaller too, and at some point, we can't discern the details of something from its neighboring areas. There's not a single point where this happens. It happens wherever, in your view, something is farther away than you can see the details. Everything that's too small to resolve is too small to resolve, regardless of where it is. We can look at the popular Snellen eye chart as an example. The lower lines are smaller, so the details appear smaller. We can simulate increasing distance by making it smaller, and as it gets smaller, none of the letters vanish. Nothing vanishes. There's no vanishing point. They just get harder to read. When the bottom line is no longer legible, the line doesn't just disappear, go into nothing. You can see it, but you cannot make out the details. Our eyes only resolve details that are large enough, but the light still gets to our eyes. I can increase the size of the chart, and you can see the increased distance just causes the details to be unresolvable. Large things are still legible. The loss of detail increases as the object is farther away.
As the sun moves farther away, the horizontal planes will appear to merge.
And here we see the real disconnect. The horizontal sky plane line is completely wrong. This line is trying to show the apparent elevation of the sun. But that's not how things actually happen as the distance increases. We can use the diagram to measure the apparent position of the sun. Just measure the angle between the ground and the line between the observer and the sun. Properly applying perspective in this diagram, the most distant sun placement must be 14 degrees above the ocean for flat Earth.
So here we have our observer on the left looking off as far as he can see. When you, as an observer, stand looking as far as you can see toward the horizon, the sky plane and the plane of the ground you stand on appear to converge at the end of your eyesight in the distance at the vanishing point.
In art class, they talk about vanishing point. But this isn't art class, this is science class. In reality, there's no such thing as a vanishing point. Flat earthers suggest that at some distance, things are no longer visible at all based on their size or their position in your view. Looking again at the Snellen chart, the flat earth claim is that things that are too small will completely disappear. As they get farther, more things will disappear, and for some reason, only bottom up. According to flat earthers, if we invert the chart, the large E will vanish bottom up with increasing distance, even though it's large enough to be legible. There is no real explanation for this. Many buzzwords have been proposed other than vanishing point, angle of attack, diffraction, convergence, limit of angular resolution, but never anything that can be empirically confirmed. However, there's a larger problem for flat Earth. The sun should never even appear that low in the sky, never even close to the horizon over the ocean. And mountains and stuff could get in the way of, obviously. But we can figure this out if we just know the height of the sun over flat Earth. Asking a flare for the height of the sun makes them run faster than Count Rugen.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Flat Earthers run because as soon as you have the height of the sun over flat Earth, you can test the flat Earth. And every time it's tested, it fails. Normally in science, this means you have a drastic problem with your hypothesis and you should discard the idea. But Flat earthers are unperturbed by this failure and cling desperately to their flat earth doctrine. The height of the sun over flat earth is worth an entire video by itself. So be sure to subscribe down below while we let Karen B get on with her comprehensive flat earth sunset video.
The next thing that causes the sun to set and rise is our atmosphere, or atmoplane, as I like to call it, since we live on a plane, not a sphere. There are multiple substances that make up our atmoplane: nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, and importantly, water vapor. Water is the third most abundant substance in our air. Water also has a great effect on light and how it propagates through the air. Clouds and water vapor obstruct the light of the sun and it can no longer illuminate your area.
If this were the case, the sun would fade out well above the horizon every single day without exception. Never would it be crossing the horizon. It would always fade out. But 7 billion people every day experience the sun setting across the horizon, not fading out well above the horizon as it must be for flat Earth. I don't know why Karen made this claim. It is trivially shown to contradict observations.
This is a clip from a video made by my good friends Zach and Steve. In this animation, Steve rendered the stars over flat Earth. The top is rendered with the atmoplane and the bottom is rendered without, showing how perspective alone does not explain how the luminaries appear to go below the horizon.
I do appreciate that Karen recognizes that perspective doesn't solve the problem of the sunset on flat Earth, and she's going to give us the more detailed answers now.
Those are the basics. You can stop here if your questions were answered. If you want to dig a little bit deeper, keep watching. How does the atmoplane make the sun and other luminaries appear to set below the horizon? The water vapor in the air acts like a lens. This is called atmospheric lensing in mainstream science and is explained here.
The science is the same of that of a lens. Here's a simple example.
So if you're looking at Chicago here, just maybe now you can just see the top of the Sears Tower, and if our simulated temperature inversion moves into place, hopefully now you can see pretty much all of Chicago,
see all the lower buildings,
including what's at ground level.
So the atmosphere really is acting like a lens.
Yes.
So not only does the water eventually obstruct the light, but all the billions of tiny water droplets behave like a lens.
Water droplets in the air do not cause lensing, they cause blockage. We call it clouds or fog. In the air there's water vapor, which is vapor water, not droplets of water. It's actually dissolved in the air. But that's not what causes atmospheric lensing. As your video shows, atmospheric lensing causes light to bend downward. This is because the index of refraction is higher near the ground and lower as you go up in elevation. This is primarily caused by temperature in the lower atmosphere and pressure over the entirety of the atmosphere. The actual amount of water in the atmosphere has very minor impact on it, but it actually has the opposite effect of what you think it does. Increased water vapor in the air actually causes a smaller index of refraction. But because it's such a small amount, it actually doesn't change what you see by very much. It's mostly temperature.
You can emulate this with a lens and a light source like I do here. This candle will take the place of the sun. Watch as I slowly move it back in a straight line, and also it stays at the same height since I have it placed on this mason jar.
Now at this point, I'm not sure if Karen is intentionally deceiving or if she is making a mistake. But if you see in the original video that she cites, the person used the top half of the lens to cause the light to refract downward. But in Karen's example, she used the bottom half of the lens. This causes light to refract upward, the opposite of how it happens in the air. So Karen, why did you do that? Will you repeat that demonstration using the top part of that lens and see if what happens in the atmosphere, downward bending of light, causes the same effect? Or did you start with a pre-selected outcome that you demanded have to happen, and you positioned the lens so that it would match your demanded outcome? I don't know. I hope, Karen, that you made a mistake. But it was wrong. You need to change it and redo your experiment. use the top part of the lens. Because we know that light bends downward in the air, and it is your citation showing that light bends downward in the air. This will cause distant objects to appear slightly higher, not lower.
Okay, I want to go back to my sunrise video and take a look at how light reflects off of a flat surface. I went to this online tool that lets you create different simulations of a light source and a reflective surface, and this is simulating the sun over flat water. The light is radiating from the center of the source out in all directions. Look at how the light rays bounce off the reflective surface and off to the distance at an acute angle.
And we have another problem here. If the sun were reflecting off the surface of the water, it would appear to come from the surface of the water, not from above the water. Also, the water is wavy, not flat, like a mirror. It's not smooth enough to reflect like that. You wouldn't see it. None of that actually makes sense. We're only seeing the sun above the water, so your reflection thing doesn't match observation either.
There's a line here where the angle of the view is so sharp, the water becomes a mirror and it's reflecting the sky.
I don't know what you're talking about. The water is rough and choppy. It's not reflecting like a mirror.
So when the sun approaches you and gets close enough for your eye to see it, the disk appears to rise up from the reflection because visually, it is now within the limits of your eyesight. As the sun moves closer, you see the reflection remain below the disk for a short time, and then it's gone. This can only happen on a flat surface.
I suppose you could say it could only happen on a flat surface, but it did not happen. Your video does not show the sun reflecting off the water. In fact, it showed the edges of the waves between the observer and the sun, the crisp edges of the waves. None of that actually matches observation. I don't know if you were watching that video, if you wrote that script maybe before playing that video or finding, I don't know, but were you trying to I don't know. It doesn't, Karen, you got to try harder. That doesn't make any sense.
Here is an example on a smaller scale. Watch as this little ship comes between the observer and the big ship, showing you how the reflection is closer to you than the object itself.
Well, that was a nice demonstration of the light reflecting off of a boundary layer between different parts of the air, not the water. It doesn't happen all the time. It requires very specific conditions.
And that is how the sun sets and rises on a flat Earth. If you're new to Flat Earth and you have questions that you want answers to, leave a comment below, or you can also join 24/7 Flat Earth Discord.
Thank you for the invitation to the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord server. I've already been on there and they've already kicked me off. They didn't like me challenging their claims. But anyway, Karen, you have this Flat Earth convention that you have where people from all around the globe come together to meet, and I haven't received my invitation yet to come and speak. Karen, I would love to come and speak at your convention. Maybe I could give a class on how refraction actually works, or how reflection works, or how to calculate the elevation of the sun over flat Earth. I'd love to do something like that. Please let me know. This year I've already booked. I've got stuff going on this year, but maybe next year. Send me an invite. I'd be glad to come there, and I'm sure that your attendees would enjoy the demonstration I could do, or maybe a debate. Anyway, Karen, thank you for that video, but I hope that you actually will re-examine this and see that none of your claims actually match reality, not a single one. You didn't actually explain why the sun sets over flat Earth. And I do have a video coming measuring the height of the sun over flat Earth for you, because flat earthers are loath to do that, and so I'll do that. Be sure to subscribe so that you get a notification when that comes out.
These are small, but the ones out there are far away.